What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I'm going to talk to you today about draw versus fade, building off of the gapping session from yesterday. A couple things have started to creep into my swing that I'm not a fan of, so we're going to correct those. We got a change in the bag as a result. I'm going to kind of take you through some of the method behind the madness of why I'm working so hard to build a fade into my game, especially this offseason, and why I think it's vital for my success long term. So anyway, here we go. So the first thing is why the fade. I'm a big believer in one shot shape. I have been saying that basically since the beginning of this whole YouTube channel, my golf journey. I saw guys like Dustin Johnson. When I really started following golf again, it was when DJ switched to the fade, and I saw the difference that made from being like really, really good to then just absolute domination, right? And so that always stuck with me. And so when it came time to formulate my own game, I always had this vision of like playing the fade for more control and just playing better golf, right? And so I've instituted that. My best rounds have come when I have a fade that works. So September of 2019 and January of 2020. Those were the 2 months in the past 2 years where the fade was absolutely working perfect for me. And as a result, the 2 best months of golf I have ever played, right? So I know in practice, when I put the fade into play, it works. The other piece, and I haven't really touched on this, also I'm a big fan of Scott Fawcett. Now I haven't talked about this before, I haven't talked about Decade on the channel because I was formulating a lot of things I've been working on around it. But I started really looking at Scott's stuff around September of last year after I had gone through my under par journey and was now looking to upgrade my knowledge. And that was when I came across Decade and a lot of the things that Scott talks about and became really fascinated with the idea of shot patterns and repeatability and becoming the golfer I had imagined from a workflow standpoint and an efficiency standpoint made a lot more sense once I understood how it works with the Decade system. And so what I'm doing and everything I'm designing myself around is to become that really repeatable golfer, right? Be able to hit this single stock shot pattern on command and be able to just aim at targets with aggression the way Tiger does, right? Tiger plays super aggressive to his targets. And if you've heard him talk, he says, I play aggressively to my spots. My spots may be conservative, but I play aggressively to those spots. And so that's how I want to play golf. When I mix a song in my music career, I don't passively mix it. I am like all in. Like it is like dropping the clutch on a performance race car with a straightaway, and we are going. And that is how I want to play golf. That is the feeling I want. I don't want to be tentative, nothing, right? So why I'm putting so much emphasis and why I've put so much just constant practice on this swing and everything I'm doing is to get to that point. That's the whole point of this, right? Putting effort into my body and putting effort into my swing to get my body to be able to hit these shots with aggression and confidence in the right way. Now, my swing blueprint session, the stuff I've done with Max have all led me on a much better trajectory to make that happen. And so now I have to further refine as my body's improved, my swing's improved, all this is great. One thing I saw in the gapping session yesterday that I was not a fan of, and it's something I've been seeing on the course, but now seeing it in a static environment like that, was a point of concern is just the draw is creeping into my game, right? And that's happening for a couple reasons. One is there's some technical issues, which I'll cover later on in this video. And then there's some hardware issues with just some of my tools, right? So first thing I'm doing is I've taken the mirrors out of the bag for now. I've brought the Callaway Apex Pros back in the bag. The reason why I brought these back in is that now that my swing is better, I'm not spinning these as aggressively as I was spinning them back in the spring because my dynamic loft is way better, right? So like looking at my data now, yeah, these are spinning about 400 to 500 RPMs more than the Miras, but I was spinning probably 1,000 to 1,500 more RPMs compared to the Miras back in the spring because my dynamic loft was absolutely stupid. So that's fine. The other thing, and this was something that I didn't realize until recently, was that I actually think these are 1 to 2 degrees flat in terms of lie angle. When I look at these compared to the Miras, when I'm standing over the ball at the range, and it becomes very obvious when I look at range videos of myself, these sit perfectly flat for me and the Miras kind of sit a little toe up. And I noticed in my shot patterns that the ball just falls a little bit to the left every single time with the Miras. And I really got to work hard to get it to fade. Whereas I'm finding with these, I don't have to work as hard to get it to just fall over a little bit, right? Like I can hit a there are times when with the Miuras where I feel like I've absolutely striped it perfect and it just hits a perfect, it's like a 1 to 2 yard draw, which is again, not a mistake, but that's not what I want. I want to see the ball fall to the right every single time. So there's definitely a technical issue that I need to solve. And that's why the Miuras are out for now. I'm going to get them looked at loft and lie. I'm going to try and see if flattening them makes a difference. Who knows? And then obviously we saw with the gapping issues yesterday, the 4 and the 5 iron are just doing something odd. So that's definitely happening. And then the other piece is technical, right? I can hit a draw pretty much anytime I want. It is my natural shape. The problem I have with the draws, I feel like the draw sometimes it cheats me. It's a way for me to cheat the process, because yes, I can hit a crazy high rip and draw, and it is my natural shape. Like if I don't touch a club for a month, I come back, the ball's gonna go right to left every single time. The problem I have with it is that I progressively will start aiming more right, and the curve just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Before I used to hit a draw purely with my hands. Now I can hit it with body position, but I find sometimes the draw, I don't know if I can control it in a tournament setting the same way I can lean into a fade, right? And I've seen, and the thing with the draw is there's volatility, right? Like, there are times when I can stick it so close with the draw, but then there are days when it's so far. It's like, it's just, the floor and the ceiling is too big, right? Whereas I find with the fade, my good days and my bad days are a lot more level, right? And I'm gonna show you guys some swings here. So here's why I don't play the draw with the driver, right? So I'm gonna show you 3 swings in a row here. So this is like swing number 1, like crush a nice high draw, fine. And sometimes I'll bring this out and play, and some of my longest drives in tournaments have come from when I have the freedom to send a high draw. Totally fine, right? But then if you look at the next shot right here, again, this is also an issue because my driver is so low spinning right now. If I catch that ball anywhere on the toe, it is just a like an absolute knuckleball duck hook, which happens right here. Like that is not what we want. And then right after, again, another screaming high draw. So 3 swings in a row there. 2 are really good, but 1 is like, whoa. If you hit a fade, a low screaming fade off the heel, you're gonna still be in play. A low screaming knuckler off the toe when trying to hit a draw, that is 99 times out of 100 absolutely gone. So the reason why the draw is kind of creeping back into my game is because, again, my footwork, right? This is an issue with getting a better swing, and this is what I talk about, like cheating myself by playing a draw. I could probably play right now a fade with the driver and play a draw with my irons and play some really good golf. And I've even tested that out in the past couple of days, like here and there, right? And I can play some really good golf by doing that. The reason why I don't want to do that is because I don't want to confuse my body, and I know I'm hitting the draw not because it's what I'm supposed to do, it's because I'm not doing things right to hit the fade. And so I have to keep working at getting better and fixing this. And so the real reason why that's happening is because, again, I keep talking about it, my left leg, I need to absolutely plant that left leg on the downswing and let the club come through and create that space. My backswing right now, I really like my pressure points. I just need this left leg to remind, like my brain needs to like become one with this left leg so that as soon as I transition, it shoots back and I create all this space to come in through with the fade. So how I work on this, the range is here. I take driver and I basically just try and like airmail some fades hard right. I'm trying to get it, like I'll leave the face open and I'll just try and go as hard right as possible. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing back with that left foot and trying to really reach in front to get my hands across to do the pattern in my swing blueprint, but really aggressively trying to create that space. And so I just like smashed a bunch of drivers here where I'm like actively trying to push it right. I'll hit, and then it gets to a point where it's like starts to get consistent and I absolutely like roast a couple, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. Then the next thing I'll do is I will then do the same thing with a 4-iron, and I'm really trying to airmail these. Like you'll see here, like I'm trying to get these as high and as right into that like space to the right as possible, because I'm trying to push that back leg to get my body to come through, because I need to commit. With hitting the fade, I have to commit to actually getting my body to exit left in order for it to go right, which is like counterintuitive when you think about it, but it's a requirement to hit a good fade. So you're gonna see here, I'm just absolutely trying to roast these 4-irons like way right, so then I can finally crush one here that like starts off the tree and just lands to the right. And then I'll take this same process and I'm gonna do this with the 8-iron too. And I'm just trying to hit them high and airmail, over exaggerate the feel, push as hard as I can with that left leg so that I can turn through the ball. Because the other thing I still am not doing well enough is rotating fully through the swing. I can get to impact now, but now I need to get my left leg to continue to push so that I end up with a good finish. Because I'm kind of stalling out my finish. I'm like swinging 3/4, like full backswing, and then after impact, I'm already looking at the ball trying to see where it went, as opposed to committing to knowing I've done everything right, rotate through and go. And so I'm trying to airmail and like just get everything to the right, to the right, to the right. And then I start finally hitting some 8-irons with some commitment where I'm fully rotating through and holding the finish, and then start to see the exact shape I want. And even if sometimes I push it a little left, I just don't want to see it turn over left. If it doesn't turn over left, that's fine, because all I want to be able to do when I'm out there is pick my target, aim, and swing as hard as I can at it. And I don't want to ever have to think about it going the direction I don't want. I know that's a tall ask, but that's what the best players in the world do. That is why they're able to hit shots and go after things and put up the numbers that they put up, because they can find their ways into their spots in ways other players can't, right? And that's the design behind how I want to play golf, right? Some guys want a little more artistic freedom. Some guys want, a different system. For me, what I learned through my music career is that like workflow is everything. How you set yourself up to get to the finish line of anything is the most important thing, right? When I mix a song, I have my tool set up and I have everything good to go, so that before I even mix the song, it's like 40 to 60% done, depending on the song. Like I'm never starting at true zero. And in my opinion, by setting up the game like this, right? By setting myself up to hit this way, I can jump into any golf course and basically have a leg up on any golf course before I've even hit a shot, right? And this is kind of like a strokes gained kind of thing, right? Like Rory and DJ, with how far they hit their driver on command, I think Mark Brody was saying like they're up like plus 1.4 shots or something before they've even stepped onto the course, right? And so my thinking is that by building up the speed, building up this one shot shape, getting these stats hardwired in, then if I can become a bit of like that workflow specialist with getting around a golf course, well then before I even show up, I should have a certain strokes gained already, and I know it's not a perfect science, and I know golf's not perfect, but if we can eliminate as much volatility as possible, that just seems like the most logical thing to do, right? So that's why you guys hear me always talk about one shot shape, one thing. And again, from following decade, the math checks out, right? Like trying to do too much out there is a problem. This is why I spend so much time block practicing and hitting this one thing over and over. And I'm not willing to let myself cheat and default to something just yet, because I think with more working out, with everything I'm doing in a couple months, I should be able to start doing this at the level I envision. So that's where all this is going. That's why, for me, draw versus fade. Fade is where we're at. And as you can see, some amazing swings here towards the end of this range session. So guys, this is what I'm working on. This is one of the big pieces why all this is designed a certain way around my swing, and why I'm working as hard as I can to play golf this way. So very excited. Very encouraged with some of the stuff I saw yesterday in the gapping session. My goal is to get to 185 ball speed with the driver. If I can get to 185 ball speed by March, hitting the power fade like this, that's like elite PGA Tour numbers. So I'm at, average was 174 ball speed, and I was peaking at like 178 ball speed. If I can peak at 185 ball speed and average around 180 ball speed, that is a huge advantage going into any round of golf ever. So that's the method. That's how we're doing it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Join me on my golf journey to get to a +6 in Turn Pro. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.